Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hey everyone, I'm already having a lot of fun and the conversation hasn't really started yet. I'm super excited to introduce as a guest to the show today my friend, Jen Duchene. She is a soul guide, creator, master Akashic healer, practitioner, and teacher who provides an oh my goodness, who provides an unconventional perspective to innovators and creative overthinkers, feelers, and doers, moving them from confused to overwhelmed to a focused awareness which supports and nurtures a calm, peaceful, and powerful certainty and a new way forward. I really hope everyone caught that. I'm not planning on editing that out because I think, you know what, real life. So I just feel like there's a really fun kind of, I don't know, surprising type of energy happening here. So anyways, welcome Jen to the show.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh my, yes. We were just before, for everyone who's listening, just before we hit record, Jen and I have known each other for quite a while at this point. We were just catching up a little bit, and I was just sharing with her how I feel these very strong elemental energies around us today for this conversation, and she and I both have a strong connection to the earth. And anyways, as I was kind of, stumbling my way through her introduction, I could feel the playfulness of the fairies. So it was cool. So welcome everyone to the conversation. Jen, I would love for you to share with us more about the amazing work that you're doing, how you got there, like what inspired you to that path.
So funny, you talk about fairies. When I was little, I used to talk to fairies, and we had this giant mulberry tree, and I used to like a little tricycle going around the mulberry tree, and I had this little Wendy house that I thought was my house, etc. And then at some point, that typically happens, I think, or used to happen, was I shut it all down and then just went into this place of, who I am is not acceptable, this weirdo, this person who talks to fairies, etc., blah, blah, blah. So I just kept shutting down more and more, thinking that, well, I need to be like others. And so eventually at some point, all the light just went out. And so I went through dark night of the soul. And while it was the worst of things, it was the best of things, because at that moment, in that time, I actually had my abilities that I'd shut down started to come back. And so I heard a voice that said to me that I need to follow the signs. And I was in a deep depression. So luckily I had a dog, my dog Goldie, my soul dog, and we'd go walking. And that's what I decided, to follow the signs. And then the signs led me to an event. I went to an event, and that led me to another event, and that led me to finding about numerology, the Akashic records. And then after that, I just followed whatever came up. I didn't try to push it or do anything. I just thought, well, I don't know I haven't felt happiness. I haven't felt joy. I'm just going to do all these things. And just as they come to me, just follow them. And I met somebody who taught the Akashic records and had a reading. And then I was like, whatever this is, sign me up.
You are so easily and gracefully able to kind of wrap all of your journey up into this red bow. I love it. Yet there's also so much to unpack from what you shared too about your journey, because especially when it comes to surrendering to that flow, right, of where we're being guided. And I feel like our awareness spiritually as a collective, we're still so much barely scratching the surface of our awareness. We're still so much in a spiritual infancy. And this is what I believe anyways. But surrender is a great topic. Surrender and trust are great topics to touch on, because especially in spiritual communities, we do talk a lot about surrender, and how, how deeply do we actually really embody that. I know for myself, actually, just as recently as yesterday, I find that this journey is just, it's multidimensional and multi-layered, because for me, even just as recently as yesterday, another awareness came forward where I was still holding on to control of how I wanted something to unfold. And I'd love for you to share with us more about how you cultivate that deeper embodiment of surrender, along with, if you're open to share some of the challenges that you've had with that.
I would be delighted to. I think for me, the thing that saved me, or the thing that allows me to be more and more surrendered, is the fact that my focus is on my soul growth. That is my purpose. My purpose is to express myself, experience myself. And so the more I can do that, the easier it becomes. So one of the things that I use is humor, because for me, and that's what I get from my guides, it's about a lightness of being. When you let go of the old stuff, you get lighter and lighter. I always think about that movie, Mary Poppins, right? Like the way the kids rose, right? The way they rose up in those chairs and were able to kind of hang out in the air was because through laughing. And I think a lot of that to me is true. We can grow and release through laughter. So it's a really very powerful tool to laugh at myself, laugh at the situations, even the things like, now we're going through so much pressure in terms of needing to look at ourselves and going, like me, needing to look at myself, my beliefs, how I fit into this situation, and coming to terms. So not only do I employ laughter and curiosity, I think that's another great tool, to be curious about what's happening. I recognize that I'm the one who is in charge of my own journey. So I'm the one that decides, do I want to be curious about myself and kind of explore and be willing to go, okay, Jen, you really are stuck in this area? Because I don't think that, even if you're, been doing this for a long time, as both of us have, I don't think there's ever, not in my experience, that there's a day or a moment that passes that I go, oh yeah, I got it all, I figured it all out, I'm good. It's like, just, I have that moment, like, oh my God, I got it, I feel amazing. And then all of a sudden, boom, something happens, somebody says something in a weird way, or, I kind of trip over myself. And then it's like, oh my God, feeling. So that to me is the other aspect of this, is to really feel what I feel. So for me, this time is about the embodiment of my being, the part of me that has never been able to express herself, not just in this lifetime, in many lifetimes. And I think that's the crux of it, is that what we all yearn for, and what I yearn for, is to feel what I feel, know what I feel, and express that, not in a way that I need other people to acknowledge what I feel, because, I think that's an illusion. But to go, I feel this, I'm okay with it, I can move myself through it, I can accept it, and then, go on to the next thing.
So I would be remiss if I weren't going to address the elephant in the room. My cat is crawling around in the background, which he never does this. So like I said, there's just something with the energies right now. So there's that. So whoever's watching the video can see that. Wow, there's so much wisdom in what you shared, Jen. One of the key things I wanted to highlight from what you shared is about free will, right? Because really, we get to choose. We get to choose our experiences. We get to choose how we decide to feel about things, right? And I also love what you said about being curious, choosing to be curious, because that's really what we're here for, right? Is to be just as much human as we are a soul, to be equally divine and equally human at the same time in this experience. What would you say have been a couple of the greatest challenges in that, right? Because there are a lot of people, this is something else that's very common as well, right? It's like there's an intellectual understanding of, even what the ascension journey means. And then there's the actual taking, those aligned actions, where I think a lot of people feel challenged. And I know that I've been in that space as well.
Right. So I think that's all very true. I think for me, it's like our collective choice hundreds of years ago was to choose reason as a basis of deciding things. So over the period of time, we have relied on reason, and it's like, oh, does that make sense? All of the stuff. Oh, that doesn't make sense. I mean, not that we are very discerning, unfortunately. We just kind of have these things. This makes sense. This doesn't make sense, etc. And then we get very fixed in our opinions. And so for me, sorry, I don't know what happened. I kind of lost the question.
No worries. I can repeat the question. Basically, I was saying that, something else that's very common in the personal development industry, and especially spiritual community.
Okay.
Like
I remember. Okay,
right?
I got it. Okay, I remember now. Okay, it came back. I
Yep.
went somewhere. But yeah, so I think that's part of it, is that we pride ourselves on our capacity to think. Even though we don't have the capacity to discern, and we're not really taught how to discern, how to separate ourselves from our emotions. A lot of our emotions come from a place of trauma. They're not real. They come from the story we're very attached to. So all that can mess us up. And so the way for me has been to stop rationalizing things, like rationalize, like, oh, somebody said something horrible to me. Oh, they have a right to say that to me, right? Like all this kind of fairness that we put into the world that's very rational. I'm entitled to have the feeling I have. And in fact, I need to have the feeling or the response I have. Then I decide what to do with it, because that's the free will. I feel rejection. I feel pain. I feel like, oh, I'm not being heard. Then I decide, what do I need to do? And for me, this is about me giving myself what I need, because no one else is going to give that to me. I waited for probably hundreds of years, feels like thousands, but certainly many years in this lifetime, for people to say, Jen, you got that right. You're entitled to feel that. And sure, people will sometimes say that, they'll give you something, but then they'll take it away and go, oh, well, now stop feeling that, or move on to the next thing, or I need you to focus here. And instead just go like, no one else is going to be as involved in taking care of my feelings as I am.
Yeah, absolutely. We are responsible. I feel like that's another key component of the ascension journey of being able to move forward is taking personal responsibility, right? Because no one is responsible for how we feel. And likewise, we're not responsible for how anyone else feels. Okay. And there are a lot of different ways that that statement can be perceived, but really to say in the context that I'm speaking of it in is really that each of us are on our own ascension journey, right? And each of us has free will, and each of us is empowered to decide what we want our experiences to be. And we cannot control everything that happens in the world. We can control, how we choose to respond to it.
Right. And yeah. And I think too, the thing is, I can feel my feeling. I can feel resentment. I can feel pain. I can feel anything I want to feel, and that's okay. However, as you said, it's all the levels. First, I choose how to treat myself. And that is a reflection of how I treat everyone else. Because if I feel impatient, angry, I want to blame others, there's something inside of me that is incomplete or doesn't feel like I'm being heard. And, when I look around at what's happening right now, and I've had so much time to process, what I realize is that everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an idea about what is true. And that truth that we take is based on our own areas of pain, trauma, incompleteness. And we're going to go, okay, this is the group I belong to. This is the group I'm going to do. At the end of the day, it does not help us because we're the ones that still have to be the ones. I wrote a post about it today, so it's kind of funny that we're having this conversation, but it's like we seek to be understood. We want everyone to understand, this is my position. Don't you get it? This is my position. And let me prove it to you over and over again. Then people go, I don't care. This is my position, right? And the point is that while we seek to be understood and we feel like nobody's hearing us, the only person that can hear us or understand us is ourselves.
That's so true. And then also, being able to step into more of an observer role with ourselves and explore our deeper motivation behind the desire to be understood, right? Because that can also sometimes come from a place of woundedness, from unhealed trauma or for other various reasons. I feel like there's a difference between that desire to be understood and really the innate desire to be heard,
Right. Well, I think, it's a very complex thing. We're talking about something, in simple form that has many layers, very nuanced, very complex. But it boils down to this. If I'm a creator, as I believe we all are a creator, we all, we carry that seed in us to create, then I'm the one who has to create, given what I have around me, right? So for me, I like to paint. I don't really have much training. But at the end of the day, I could have this excuse, which I've had for many years. Well, I didn't go to art school, so I don't know what to do. Or I'm too scared to do this, even though I want to, and then come to a place like now, like, I don't care. I'm just doing it, right? I'm going to get a canvas. I'm getting it. And I've had lessons. It's not like, I've had lessons. I've helped myself. But then it comes to the place that who is going to let me do this? So if I'm in a situation, maybe I don't have paint, but maybe I have a crayon, a piece of paper, or maybe I want to sing, then I sing. It's like finding that expression of creativity that isn't restricted by this belief, I am not allowed to create. That was my belief. I can't create, or nobody pays artists well. This is all bullshit, right? Like all these stories we have are basically made up stories we live with that create that trauma and we just keep repeating it. So basically we re-traumatize ourselves over and over again instead of going, you know what? Okay, that was my situation. People didn't support me. Okay, I'm an adult now. I'm going to go do it, right? And of course, supporting our children or people around us in the same way, instead of going, yes, you're right, you can't do it, you are stuck. It's like, no, if this is the thing you desire to do, whether it's cooking or doing math or whatever your version of creativity is, find a way to do it.
Yeah, something I'm feeling guided to bring forward about this topic is that, and I talk about this often too in my world, is the importance of knowing what truth feels like in your body. Because there is a lot of inversion in society, in our world, a lot of untruths, um, and it can feel very overwhelming and distracting at times, right? In the human experience. And so knowing what truth feels like in your body, like what's that North Star, that feeling that tells you, oh, yeah, I'm on the right path. I feel like it's so important for each of us to be tapped into that so that no matter what distracting thoughts or experiences come our way, we're able to navigate our way through that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's true. And I also think that it's a process. Like we do not know the truth the
Right
way
away.
it feels to us
Mhm.
when we start, right? When we begin the process, oh, what is true? First thing we're going to do is we're going to look around us and see what other people are saying, because this is how we've been conditioned. We've
Mhm.
been conditioned since we were children to go, oh, the teacher didn't like my work, or I'm not supposed to color, whatever it is. And so they're the ones that have the authority. They're the ones who know. So when you start to align to your own authority, going, oh, I have to decide, then it's a process. So I got to try something, I got to feel something. You just have to keep going over and over again, because what was true for me yesterday is not true today, because I've already changed my mind about something, right?
Yeah.
So that is absolutely true. Knowing something about yourself, but realizing it's something that moves all the time, because
Mhm.
it has to, right? It's not a fixed thing. Truth is not fixed.
Absolutely. I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about, you included in your information a link to a free meditation about overthinking, correct?
I did.
And I laugh about it, because you have to, right? I think you said something about humor earlier, but we do, like we're so cute as humans. We overthink so much. Tell us about that.
Right. So I do these meditations through the Akashic records, so they're pretty powerful, and uh, they're journeys. There is a special kind of meditation, and the energies move through it. So the focus is to stop overthinking, because, as we've talked about, and as you've said, it is hilarious that, our fixed thing, the thing we trust the most, is our capacity to think. And yet that is the weakest part of us, because it is, our brain can only contain what we already know. So if we don't know something, we don't have the capacity to go beyond it. And that's why overthinking is so important to tap into. And that's why this meditation, I created it. It's brand new, so it's in the highest frequency that I work in right now. And
Mhm.
so yeah, I
I love
figured we
that.
need it.
I love that you created that in the Akashic records as well, which I feel like, really creates such an amplified potency around it.
It does. And, talking about truth, to me, the Akashic Records represents
Yes.
truth. It's the highest truth we can tap into as individuals, because, of course, we can only resonate to a truth that is available to us, right?
Yes.
But, yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful to connect with someone else as well that teaches and practices in the Akashic records as I do too. I agree. I'll obviously believe in everything that you're sharing around that. Definitely. I often imagine just, what would the world be like if every person were tapped into their Akashic records? I mean, like there would be no conflict, no war, no, and if there were, it would be very short lived.
Yeah, right. But again, it comes down to curiosity, right?
Hmm.
The curiosity of each of us to want that freedom, because it is a responsibility, to choose. even now, as we're being conditioned in a new way, like we're learning a new way of being, and so our conditioning requires that we become more focused, that we are very focused on our own growth, so that we can be better part of humanity, because we've been so absent in our actual beingness, if you will, right?
Absolutely. It's definitely a big responsibility. There's choosing that freedom, and then there's navigating that freedom. It's like, I know I've talked about it in my origin story a lot too. Making that leap, right? But making the leap is actually, I mean, great. Let's celebrate each other for that. Absolutely. That's just the first step, though. Then you have to keep consciously taking steps, right, to choose that freedom. It's like you're making that choice every day. Jen, I would love, just in closing, for you to share anything else with us that you're feeling guided to bring forward.
Actually, what I am being guided to share is I got this information. I asked in the records not so long ago, last year, why did we choose the path of fear? Why did we choose, this path of control, etc.? Because it's something I've really wondered about. And what I did here was we chose it because it's easier than love, easier than what we're talking about, free will. And so people have to recognize, we all have to recognize the path that we're choosing now is not an easy path. It's a rewarding path, but it isn't easy. And I actually had a conversation with someone the other day who was saying, love, who wants to be in bliss all the time? But I'm like, love is not
Not
bliss.
about that. Yeah.
Right.
No, oh gosh, no. Love can be very fierce. Love can show many forms.
Right. And we grow through love. We don't grow through fear. Like we shrink through fear. We get more, like we, hang on more to those things we had. Love expects you to take a path that others have not taken. And there's no certainty in any of this.
Absolutely. You bringing up the word easy brings forward another word for me, which is aligned. And that's another word, another charm that, I've done this too. And it really can be subjective to what someone's belief, what their own truth is about what easy means, right? But to me, aligned doesn't necessarily mean easy. When I think of the word aligned, I think of the highest frequency. I think of love. And so aligned doesn't necessarily equate to easy for me. And I feel like there's a lot of inversion around that.
Right. I think this whole idea that I hear a lot of people saying, people I follow, I follow them maybe because there are things they say that I enjoy. But this idea that we're going to, just do these 10 things or whatever it is, and then we'll be in the state of bliss and then everything will be wonderful. That's complete bullshit. It isn't true. Just like you're saying, aligning is hard work, because it means you have to keep asking and discerning and being sure, am I the closest to the highest truth I can be for myself? Or am I kind of getting lost and kind of wandering off? I mean, I find myself wandering off.
Yeah.
Even now I can say, yeah, I'm clear, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'll find myself kind of wandering off. And sometimes it's okay, right? Sometimes we wander off and we discover something new. But ultimately, when we're focused on the idea of reaching a certain experience, who can hold us, our feet to the fire? Who can hold us accountable? Because so much easier, like they were saying, it's so much easier to just do what other people tell you to do. It's so much easier to say, oh, let me get the bowl of popcorn and watch these movies. I don't have to do anything except, snicker at what other people are doing. But actually doing the work, right? And that's the work. The work is to align yourself to your path over and over and over again.
Absolutely. And over time, it can feel easier. It's no exception to anything else, right? Whoever came up with that saying, practice makes perfect, except for, by the way, there is no perfect. It's like there's always a new, something else to be discovered, right? A new invitation to mastery, if you will. But yeah, I could speak with you for days about this.
Yeah,
but it is time.
Yeah. It is time. It is time. Although I will say, sorry, I want to just say one thing, if that's okay.
Sure.
Is the things we've talked about, the idea of laughter, curiosity, all of these things, and the reward of this thing makes it worth it. Aligning makes it all worth it, even though it is challenging.
Absolutely. And how do you know if you're that person, right? Because you're someone who has a desire to be curious. You're someone who is seeking truth. It's important, to you to live in integrity. I mean, that's how right? There's a desire to do that exploration and to continually grow.
Right. As long as your truth you're seeking is within you and not trying to
right, not outside of you. Yeah, which can be a whole other podcast episode, because the conditioning around that is very deep as well. Suffice to say, yes, the truth lies within. All of the answers lie within you. And people such as yourself, Jen, me, other leaders out there, right? Healers, they are here to support you. We're here to support each other, to assist in empowering each other, right? And lifting each other up, but not give the answers to each other. Only we can find the answers.
Right. Well said.
So if someone wants to get in touch with you, where is the best place for them to find you?
They can go to my website, jenduchene.com, or I'm on social media.
Yeah, no, your website's great, and we'll have those links in the show notes as well for those who want to reach out to you. What a joy. And how fun to connect. I love this conversation so much. So honored to have you as a guest today. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's funny speaking to someone with the same name.
Yeah. Hey, my name's Jennifer too. Thanks, Jen. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.